Hey everyone, Al Fragnoli, Legal Leaders, got a very special guest on with us today, Jean Durham. Jean joins us as a military expert. She has spent 22 years in the service. Jean, thanks so much for your service in the Marines. We know you have an extensive background in leadership and military, so we're excited to talk to you a little bit about that. You're currently an intelligent leadership coach with ILEC, Master Certified Leadership Coach. So we know you got a lot of experience around leadership. We want to talk to you a little bit first. First of all, thank you so much, Jean, for coming on with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me, Al.
Absolutely. So I love talking to people with military background, Jean. Usually they're fantastic leaders. They learn so much in their time in service around organization and structure and discipline. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about your military background and maybe some of the leadership traits and characteristics that you were able to develop in your time in the service?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. So I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school. I was 18 years old. I enlisted, and I would say it was probably maybe even a year in. I mean, the Marine Corps is always teaching you something, always, always along the way. You're always learning something. But it was maybe about a year in, and my first leadership challenge was presented, and my gunny, he wanted me to, he noticed something with a younger Marine, and he was like, hey, Corporal Durham, this is what's going on with her. You need to go and correct her. And I'm like, I never really had to correct, another Marine. I think she might've been junior to me too. So, this is my chance to step up and, hey, I'm going to be a leader and I'm going to go tell her to fix herself. And so, I mean, it went well, but point being is like the Marine Corps did a very good job with presenting opportunities for Marines to have a leadership challenge. So that was throughout my entire 22 years. But so I was enlisted for my first half, probably that was about 11 years. I was accepted to an enlisted to officer program. So I went to school, got my degree, became a Marine Corps officer, and was a public affairs officer for the last 11 years of my career. And I recently just retired in February.
Awesome. Awesome. Congratulations on that retirement. Congratulations on your transition over to ILEC. Thank you again for your service. I love some of the examples that you shared on leadership and that the Marines essentially throw their people right into leadership roles right away. And they probably do that to give you guys that courage to become leaders, because ultimately that's what needs to happen in the Marines. And if you think about a lot of the situations, it's life or death in a lot of instances, right? So that's fantastic that you were able to learn leadership at such a young age. I love it. So thank you for sharing some of your background there. Jean, I know you're very, very passionate about culture. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about culture today. Obviously, in the last 2 years with COVID and the pandemic, we've seen a lot of people transition jobs or even transition careers. And a lot of what we read, we're hearing that it's referred to as the Great Resignation. So with that being said, culture is more important today than it ever was for companies. If they don't got a good culture going on in their organization, then a lot of people are potentially going to leave. A lot of good workers might move on. So why don't you take a couple minutes, chat with us a little bit about culture, what you've seen from clients you've worked with, people that you've been around in different organizations, and then just want to hear some of your experiences with culture and what companies need to do in order to maintain a great culture within their organization.
Okay. Yeah, great. That's a big question. You might have to remind me along the way to hit those wickets. Okay. So culture, essentially overall, it's so important because it can absolutely make or break an organization. It can degrade morale to the point where, yeah, people want to leave. I don't want to stay around and have to deal with this on a daily basis. So sorry, I'm leaving. And that, it's kind of like a snowball effect. Okay, well, if you keep getting this high turnover rate, then is your organization, is it staying afloat? Like, are you losing money? So there are huge consequences all you have to do is create an environment to make your employees happy. And that's what you got to do. I guess I'll start with just one example of a personal experience. I was in a unit where I had a boss who was kind of, he would check in every once in a while. I usually got all of my taskers from the actual commander, and then there was my boss, and then there was me. So it was like the boss was kind of taken out of the picture because, he just wasn't around. I thought I was doing things well. I wasn't really getting any feedback from anyone. I was just kind of like just left out there, and I was very unhappy because I didn't know if I was doing things well or if I was doing them incorrectly. Like, I need to improve because, like all leaders, we always are striving to improve. And so my morale was low, and it's, you're in the Marine Corps, you can't just up and quit. You're in it. And so shortly thereafter, my boss, who wasn't really around, he left the organization, and I had a new boss come in, and he was in my office, and he was all up, in my business. And, initially I thought, whoa, I've got a micromanager here, but that wasn't the case at all. He was passionate about his job, and he was passionate about being my boss. And he took it very seriously, and he provided feedback on some of the things that I needed to know beforehand with the other boss. And I felt like I had support, that I could bring ideas to him, that I just felt very confident about my role after having a big discussion with him. So, don't see it as micromanaging. There's got to be some level of involvement from your boss, for sure, to create that really good culture. What I'm seeing from, did you have a question? Sorry.
No, I was gonna pause you right there for a minute, because I want to just highlight on some of the key things that I took away from what you've shared already, Gene, and I want to make sure that our audience captures this as well. So you mentioned declining morale. So if morale goes down within an organization, that has to do with culture, obviously, as well, and people are going to leave, right? And so the goal of all companies wants to be to retain your top performers, and you want to see them flourish and thrive, right? So the way you do that is not by having poor morale. You want to increase their morale. You mentioned an environment to make employees happy. That seems so simple, but I think a lot of organizations do struggle with that. So, that is a huge part of culture. We want people to show up to work happy and excited to be there. They need to feel as though they're making a difference and an impact with the work that they're doing. And that'll make them happy when they show up to work each day. You mentioned feedback, support, ideas. That's what your new boss was really focused on, and you didn't have that from a previous leader. When we're not getting feedback, Gene, as you know, we don't know if we're doing good or bad. We have no idea where we're at with an organization. And so that feedback, that constant feedback, is very, very critical to a person's development, and it keeps them engaged with the work that they're doing as well. And as I mentioned, support, and you felt comfortable sharing ideas. That's critical too. And that's something we can touch on in a minute here, the idea of vulnerability, right? That shows when a leader is open to, an employee that works for them, to share ideas and come to them with ideas. That shows that as a leader, I don't have all the answers. So I'm going to look to my people for ideas too. And I'll take different ideas from each and every person and look at that and see what might work best. So, that's that concept and idea of vulnerability, which is so critical for leaders to have as well. But I'll let you continue on, Gene. I know I kind of cut you off there, but I'll let you continue on with some ideas as well.
No, that was a very important recap that you just did. No, let's see. So some of the clients that I'm working with now, so what I'm seeing is that there's just not enough time in the day to complete the responsibilities that they've been given. That can go both up and down. So if you're this leader who has zero time, then what kind of time are you putting into your people? If you have zero time, then what kind of stress are you feeling with someone who's your superior? So that's not a good place to be. So, I mean, so overall, that is what I'm seeing with clients that I'm working with. Kind of a great area for us to help.
Absolutely, absolutely. So why don't we transition that too? So I'm gonna, I see a lot of the same struggles as well with people that I talk to in the business world as well, Gene. So you don't have enough time to complete the responsibilities. That could be for a leader, that could be for an entry level position, whether it be sales, marketing, whatever. A lot of that stems from companies, again, being shorthanded, which could have something to do with culture, as we talked about. But the most important thing for leaders to know and to focus on is to give that attention to their people. That's their top responsibility. Show their people that they care about them, their progression within an organization, their development. And that takes time, as you just mentioned, it takes time away from their tasks. But the most important thing is to show each and every one of your people that you lead, that you care about them, not only from a work and performance standpoint, but from a personal level as well. It's critically important to get to know them at a personal level, know what their hobbies and interests are, know about their family background and their family dynamics. The more you know about your people, the easier it will be to relate to them, the easier it'll be to inspire them and motivate them to accomplish great things, which will ultimately help the bottom line of that company. So I love the fact that you talked about that. So let's transition and kind of end things in our conversation here about maybe the importance of some companies to have leadership coaching, right? We all want to grow. We know that's an important to be vulnerable as leaders. We just touched on that. And the culture is the main piece. Why is it so critically important, Gene, for a company or for an individual that's a leader to invest in a leadership coach?
Yeah. Well, I see it as simply as this. So, you've got all these challenges, these issues, or maybe things are good, you never know, on the outside. If there's an issue that you need to address or fix, there's no way that you can do that without identifying or looking within yourself. So if you're trying things and it's not working, let's assess what's inside first. Let's get the individual straight, and then maybe we can have a different perspective on how to address challenges on the outside. So yeah, we're all striving to be better. That's where you got to start.
Gene, I think you nailed it right there at the end. We're all striving to get better. So even if things are pretty darn good, they can always be better, right? So that's why I think it's critically important to invest in leadership coach. We all want to get better and strive to be better each and every day of our lives. And as leaders, we really need to do that so that we can lead, inspire, and develop our people that we are leading. That's our responsibility as leaders ultimately. So, Gene, thank you so much for sharing some of your background in the military with us. Thank you again for your service. We truly appreciate that. Thank you for sharing some of your ideas around culture, vulnerability, and some of the things that leaders can really do and strengthen to become great leaders in society. We know you're doing amazing things out there. Why don't you, in the next minute or so, why don't you just tell us how people can get in touch with you, whether it be LinkedIn, email address, whatever it is. If somebody wants to reach out to you, how can they contact Gene Durham?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a huge LinkedIn page. So I'm Gene Durham on LinkedIn. My phone number is 912-712-6796, or you can email me at jdurham@intelligentleadershipec.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Gene. Appreciate your time. We know you're super busy. Continue to do the great work out there that you're doing. We look forward to hearing all the successes that you have out there and the incredible impact that you are making on people's lives. So keep doing great work. Thank you again so much for coming out with us. Appreciate it, Gene.
Thanks, Al.